Right then, let's go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 2-on-1 Powerchair Football Podcast powered by MK Battery. A big thank you, as always, to MK Battery for their continued support across the podcast, their backing of our National League live streaming efforts, and their ongoing support of Powerchair football provision across the country. This is episode 55, and today our focus is very much on the John Good Group WFA Cup and the inaugural WFA Vase as we build towards finals day. We are now just shy of a week out from Bring the Noise at Derby Arena on Saturday, May the 9th, where 10 matches, 2 competitions and 2 national champions will be decided under one roof. Across one packed day, the WFA Cup quarterfinals, semi-finals and final will take place alongside the WFA Vase semi-final and final, marking the first time both competitions have been concluded on the same day. And we are building on the success of the past 2 years, with last year's finals day becoming the most attended Powerchair football event ever delivered in the country. And this year we're looking to go even bigger. My name is Ryan Sipple, and I'm happy to be joined by both Alex Dowding and Dean Williams from the WFA. How are you both?
I'm very well, thank you, Ryan. Probably better than your legs. How are you recovering well from your London Marathon efforts?
Recovering well, thank you. Dean, how are you?
Very good, thanks, Ryan. And what a sterling effort from you on Sunday.
Thank you. I do need to get it in. Greg is away on England duty as he heads up to Scotland for the 2026 EFA home nation. So we brought in the big guns. And of course, we all wish Greg and the England squad the very best of luck this weekend. And joining us, delighted to welcome John Good Group's Adam Walsh and Rich Quelch back to the podcast. How are you both?
Very good, thank you, sir. And I'd like to extend our congratulations as well for your marathon efforts. I hope your toenails grow back quickly. But yeah, great effort, mate. Well done.
Thank you very much. Rich, you okay?
Yeah, good, thank you. Looking forward to getting stuck in and create some even more already excited participants and fans that will be attending next week. And I echo everyone's thoughts. Well done for that sterling effort last Sunday. That's unbelievable.
Thank you very much. So across this episode, we'll start, of course, by building into finals day itself before reflecting kind of on the journey and the growth of the competition and the partnership behind it. We'll bring you some exciting news around the future of that partnership before diving into kind of the structure of the WFA Cup and the inaugural WFA Vase, and essentially explain how the two sit alongside one another. And from there, we'll, of course, turn our attentions to the fixtures themselves and what we can expect on the day. So there's a lot we're going to get into this episode: the competitions, the partnership, what's changed, but it probably makes sense to start where everything is leading. Finals day right around the corner. At the time this episode will be released, will be exactly 1 week out from the biggest day in the Powerchair football calendar. Saturday, May the 9th at Derby Arena. Doors open at 9 a.m. First game's underway from 9:30. And from that point on, it's fair to say it's going to be pretty relentless. As mentioned at the start, 10 huge matches across the day, 2 national competitions, and by the end of it, 2 champions crowned. And I was going back and I was thinking about the last 2 years and how successful Derby Arena has been. If you want a sense for just how much we've kind of shifted the dial and moved things on for 2026, you only have to compare it to what was delivered last year in 2025, because that year, Finals Day hosted just the quarterfinals and the semi-finals of the WFA Cup. So 6 matches across the day with 8 teams involved. Fast forward 12 months and it's a very different picture. We've taken that structure and built on it. The cup final is now included as part of the day, which is absolutely huge. And alongside that, the inaugural WFA Vase, new for this season, which also reaches its conclusion on the same day. So just looking at the numbers, you've gone from 6 games to 10, from 8 teams to 12, and I think that gives you a real sense of how much things have evolved. I'll go to Adam first. How excited are you for finals day next weekend?
You said in your intro, this is arguably one of the biggest days in the calendar. I'm going to take it one step further and be so bold as to say, I think this might be one of the biggest days in English club Powerchair football. We've got 2 competitions running. We've got 2 finals. We've got on ticket numbers, which we'll touch on a little bit later, but looking like we're going to go back-to-back record attendances. We set about an ambition getting involved, a few seasons back. We, after the first season of understanding what the art of the possible was, really start to build some ambition. Next Saturday feels like realization of all of that ambition. And to that end, to see the way the team have responded, the comments on social media, the way that you guys have got behind it, super exciting in that regards. And so, yeah, it's that nervous excitement now. We're a week out. The planning is broadly done. There's a few things left to finesse. But as of next Saturday, it all happens. And hopefully come, 4 o'clock, 4:30, we'll have crowned two champions. And we'll be looking back and reflecting on what has been another successful cup run. So, yeah, super excited from my side and can't wait to get started now.
What I love about it is the continuity of it. So obviously the 3rd year returning to Derby Arena. I think this is a conversation I had with Dean recently. People are now starting to refer to it as Derby Day and Finals Day. And that only comes when you deliver something of quality and you have that repetition constantly and consistently across several years. And I love that it's now kind of got these informal terms from the event that we're delivering. Dean, I'll come to you now. What does this day kind of represent for the WFA and the sport more broadly? Why is it so special?
I mean, Adam summed up a lot of things that I'd noted down, right, to be honest, in terms of you can feel that this feels different to the community. So ultimately, if you look on socials and engage with them, the socials that have been put out by clubs and players leading up to the day, that feels very different to what we've had before, even what we had last year. So you can factor in that there are the 4 new clubs from the Vase, which is brilliant with the semi-finalists. But actually, I even think there's been extra socials and extra noise and extra anticipation and excitement generated from people that are used to being there in terms of the quarter-finalists that coming from the Premiership and the Championship. So ultimately, I think we've just moved this to another level. And I wonder how much of that is down to the fact that the genius behind this and the transition you've just talked about, Ryan, in terms of the last 2 years and that experience of having run it there, it feels different because there's 2 trophies being lifted on the day. So that just makes one event incredibly important, a massive day in the calendar of Powerchair football in England. And I couldn't be more pleased with how the community have reacted and responded to that. So from a personal point of view as chairperson, the fact that we're lifting the 2 trophies on the day is fantastic. I'm very, very excited for everybody, but especially the 4 teams that make up the Vase semi-finalists, because this is what it's all about, right? One of our absolute taglines as an organization, as an association around our medium-term strategy was to keep looking at how do we create opportunity for our players. And I think this has fundamentally created more opportunity for the clubs and the players, which I love. I think is the right move by us. And I do think you can always sit back on these things and think, well, we could have done this like 3 years earlier. We couldn't. We had to feel a way through this, develop this as a concept, develop the branding side of it. Ryan, I think you're spot on what you've said about people referring to it as Finals Day, as Derby Day. I think all of that has led to just an inevitable increase in our ambition to have the 2 trophies lifted in one day. So super excited. We are going to be shattered at the end of the day. That is 100% the case. But the only thing that matters is teams going to have a great experience competing in the way they compete, and winners and losers on a day. But that's what we like about these kind of days, because it has that kind of jeopardy attached to it as well.
Absolutely. Rich, we've always liked the strapline Bring the Noise, and I think it's something you took from your first experience at St George's Park, from the FA Disability Cup Powerchair final, which we'll come on to in more detail later, and how that now sits within the competition structure. But Bring the Noise is kind of the identity of this finals day. How important is that atmosphere element to what we're trying to achieve?
I think, well, the experience I had at St George's Park, the first year that I went into, I was kind of blown away from the enthusiasm, the passion from the fans in the stand that was lining the pitch, and to enable us to replicate that into the Derby Arena, that gives it that next level of event that obviously attracts the right stakeholders, the right interested parties into that type of environment, aka the likes of the radio, the television, because ultimately we are building an amazing tournament which actually has a crescendo of, now as we know, 10 games, and a Vase and an actual cup final on the same day. I just think with the extra fans that are going to be coming this year, next Saturday, there's a real opportunity to try and replicate or even go better than the noise levels that I actually witnessed the year before last, and obviously last year that we went and attended, because that only drives on the players. That actually spurs them on to deliver such a great performance in front of the fans. So I'm genuinely excited, and I'm actually challenging the crowd and the audiences that are going to be coming on Saturday to be able to, as the strapline says, to bring the noise, because that ultimately creates that amazing atmosphere for the players to be able to thrive off that.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I share that call to action to our supporters: bring the support, bring the noise, because that's what makes it the occasion it is. Alex, to you, for anyone coming down or watching, kind of what can they expect from start to finish, and are there any new elements that people need to be aware of before attending?
So we hope that when you come in to the arena, it will feel like a big showpiece sports event. That's what we aim to make it look like and feel like. We've increased seating capacity on both pitches this year. We've got obviously more spectators coming, and there was still ample allocation for wheelchair users as well as spectators. So it's crucial that our venues are designed, or we lay them out to allow our community the best access that they can have. So that will be the case again. Headphones or headsets, so I say not headphones, headsets for commentary will be in place again. So if you are coming down to watch the sport and don't necessarily know a whole load about it, and you would like a little bit of insight, we supply for free a set of headphones for you to put on, and you can listen to our live stream commentators who explain in the game, the tactics, the incidents, what's happening on the game really well, with some fantastic commentary teams we've got now, made up of a combination of players, WFA officials and others, and the expertise that they add to your experience will hopefully make it a really accessible experience in terms of coming in and seeing what's going on. So there's some nice spectator areas. There's some good interaction or good accessibility and interaction with the headsets. Hopefully we'll have some nice programs for Explain the Day as well, and you can do that. And you'll also be able to watch on live streams if you want to. So if you've got that running on your phone whilst you're watching it live, you'll then be able to see a replay of any of the goals are scored, a major instance, etc. So you can do that. And exclusively, I haven't told anybody else this yet, we will have player cam for the first time in the UK. So we will have a camera fixed to a chair each game, and we'll be able to switch to that view during the live streams, which will give us a unique insight into the experience of a Powerchair football player. So lots to come in, experience to see. It's designed for spectators as much as it's designed for players as a day. So we have thought about your experience quite carefully.
Sounds absolutely incredible, and I can't wait to kind of play a part with all of them elements that you've just mentioned. Just for anyone wondering, further details will be released in the week, so you know where to be and what to look forward to. And then, yeah, just to touch on the streaming element, if you aren't able to make it to Derby Arena, which we know isn't possible for everyone, all of the fixtures will be live streamed on the WFA's YouTube. But if you do intend on coming, again, doors open at 9 a.m. with first kickoffs scheduled for 9:30. Tickets are free but must be reserved in advance so we can safely manage the numbers. And if you want to locate the ticketing page, WFA social media, probably the best place that I can locate you. Failing that, you can type in John Good Group Eventbrite on Google and it should be the first link that appears. I think now is probably a good moment to progress onto the partnership itself that supports and facilitates this finals day happening, because we're now 3 years into it and you probably can hear and see the impact. John Good Group have been involved with the WFA Cup since the 23-24 season, and when you take a step back and look at where things are now compared to back in 2023, there is a noticeable shift, not just in terms of the format or the number of teams involved, but how the competitions feel, how they're presented, how they're delivered, the attention to detail for every single element. And that's what I love about this partnership. It's not just a case of putting your name behind it and calling it a day. There has been real engagement and collaboration. The John Good Group have challenged us, supported with the innovation, new ideas, and I'd say with some confidence, the Cup has probably evolved more in the last 2 or 3 years than it had probably in the last 10, 15 prior to that, to touch on one of Dean's points of this stuff not being possible even 3 years ago. And that doesn't happen without the right people or the right organization properly being invested in it. And I can say the attention to detail, the buy-in from the whole of the John Good Group team has been absolutely instrumental. And it's probably not something people will always see from the outside, but there is so much that goes on behind the scenes. Adam, to you first. 3 years in, how do you reflect on the journey so far and the partnership with the WFA Cup and now the WFA Vase?
So it started off, and this is credit to Dean on this one, the alignment between the two teams and bringing to me a vision for what you guys were unveiling in your strategy, where you wanted to take your sport, and that alignment with John Good's 3Ps, so our core values, people, planet, and performance. And it just aligns so well with people and performance. Elite sport, community, taking people on journeys, spreading reach, growth. It just ticks so many boxes. And to that end, the starting point was actually straightforward for us. Yet this feels like something that just works so well with us naturally. So the early days, it just felt great on alignment. And then we started to work with you guys a little bit more and understand the sport. So Rich, myself, others involved within the group, you know, we were brand new to the sport. We had to learn what it was about. We had to get the fundamentals nailed. We had to understand the community and what made the sport tick and how all that worked. And all of a sudden, I think there was a bit of a light bulb moment when we came some league fixtures, and then actually probably subsequent to the first Derby experience was, hold on a second, this isn't sponsoring something that's at a finished state. This is something that we can apply some of our innovation to. And you guys were open to challenge, and you were interested in our opinions. And for us, it's like brilliant. So the decision to go from one season to extend it to start with was it was a straightforward one, because we just had all of that alignment. And I think when we sat down to talk about what that meant for the subsequent 2 seasons, it was a session, it was a John Good, you know, it was a Quarry House where John Good is headquartered, and we sat around our table upstairs in Carolina, which is our boardroom, and we were chatting, and there was 1,000 ideas, and I could see Dean getting worried because we were getting very carried away with TV and all sorts of different ideas. But what it showed very, very quickly was we were all coming from the same place and we all had the same ambition for what could be done. And then as we do, we got our heads down and we actually turned this into something that we thought, right, this is actually what the ambition looks like. And this is how we're going to make it work over the next 2 seasons. And that's what we've gone about delivering. And you've said it already, the way that we've moved it from where it was to where it is chalk and cheese. And the important bit now is that we keep delivering at that level and we keep using the cup competitions to innovate and try new things because it can be that environment to do that. And we're super relaxed about all those things. If we can enable innovation in around the sport, we get a kick out of seeing the growth, the spectator numbers, the teams, the players' engagement. That's all big wins for us. And so, yeah, and then ultimately you're sitting here today, a week out from finals day. And, it's not something I say lightly, but I'm proud about what the group of us have achieved. And, you guys do the work. We maybe prod and poke a little bit and suggest some ideas. You guys deliver all of that. But the best thing is the reaction from the community, right? They all buy right into all of those things. They have to come on the journey. And I think we're seeing that now. So, yeah, it's been amazing. It's been something that we've thoroughly enjoyed. And, yeah, and I'm excited to see what we can deliver next weekend.
I think I can speak on behalf of Dean and Alex here to say you are massively downplaying your hands-on involvement with the cup and what it's become. And that's why I'll throw to you, Rich, with kind of a two-part question. Touching on what Adam said, how rewarding has it been to see the growth of the competition over that time? But secondly, how important has it been to have kind of that hands-on involvement rather than just being a name alongside it?
First part of the question, it's something obviously in terms of my journey, even with John Good Group, it was kind of when I joined a few months after, and it was part of that process and that journey of myself going in, getting to understand the actual John Good Group ethos and the WFA opportunity to work alongside and support was something that I was really naive to anyway when it came to genuine social impact and how that actually enabled businesses to support organisations outside the building. And then, as Adam mentioned, we turned up on one game to watch it and genuinely fell in love with the ability of these players to be able to do what they do, and scaring the hell out of myself when you go into an actual Powerchair itself and try and control it and try and manipulate the football. That then was a bit of a moment for me, really, and to see how it's grown and shifted and actually gone from one place to where we can safely say there's still more to go, which is quite scary thought in itself. I think genuinely it's something that you can look back on and go, do you know what? You couldn't see what we could deliver in 3 years, and now you look back and you go, actually, yeah, we've had a massive impact here together, and that's quite a nice feeling. And I think, as you alluded to, Rai, was the community now are actually looking forward to an actual day, a calendar day in the year, where it is a genuine FA Cup final style day where it's a bit of a carnival atmosphere. People want to go and watch these amazing players. And the fact that we're 3 years in, and it's scary to think where we could take this in the next 3 years. That's what I can get even more excited about. So yeah, that hopefully that gives you the answers to the first question.
Yeah, it certainly does. Dean, kind of from a WFA perspective now, how important has this partnership been in allowing us to really innovate and stretch the boundaries of this competition, or competitions now in the plural?
So the guys, I'll do this justice, I think. And the first thing I want to say is, if we just replayed what Adam and Richard just said, that is why this works for us and works for our players and has become what it has become. And who knows, to Richard's point, where it goes in the future. They just speak in a way that you'd want every partner to speak around the value of what they're putting on, understanding the sport, the proposition, and what it means to people. So it's a thank you from me, guys. Again, I know I say that probably far too often, but you're still going to get it from me in terms of what you have enabled on that side of it. I always felt that there was and Adam and I go back a long way, so I always felt there would be alignment when we had that first conversation, Adam, when I went to you and said that there's an opportunity here let me talk to you about what about the sport. But that's me being very selfish and saying, who do I believe would be a great partner when they've not even heard of the sport in the first place, when we first had that first call about it. And actually, I want to absolutely demonstrate this in the right way. What you guys have done, you mentioned about you got excited by the level of ambition that existed in the Wheelchair Football Association when it came to the medium-term strategy and our plans for the competitions. But the bit that you guys have done brilliantly well is not only have you brought into that vision and helped us and pushed us on that vision, you understood where we were right there and then, which would not have been in the place that we are now. So what you will do is, and we try and minimize these, but you would accept that at some points in that journey, we would graze our knees, not break our legs, but we'd graze our knees. You have been fantastic at being incredibly supportive through that. The fact that you've seen it in that way has enabled us to relax, be innovative, to try new things, to be creative, to push boundaries, because we feel that within you, as long as we have that engagement right and you understand what it is we're trying to do, you would put yourself in a position where you'd understand where we are and where we're trying to get to. And although you guys want it to be a fantastic event, ultimately, that means an awful lot to us because that's a huge part of how we've accelerated into what we're seeing now Saturday week, tomorrow week. So that push and challenge from you guys is extremely important. And then, of course, the bit that I have to represent really, really well is that there's more than just the financial giving. The financial giving is a way for us to get hold of stuff that we believe is in tune with how creative we want to be and how innovative we want to be. And it enables us to go and try new things, which is superb. But then you haven't stopped there and gone, well, there you go. That's that consideration done. You've thrown yourselves and your teams into what we do. So not at any point in this journey so far have I felt that there's just a mandate to you guys go and deliver against that. You've deliberately walked towards us and gone, right, what is it we need to do together? Where do you need our help? What can we do for you? Here's what we're thinking. We're going to do this. And that is absolutely 100% supported by the fact that you guys come up with the idea about having a trophy lift, as it is 2 trophy lifts on the day. And then you took responsibility for that and said, well, because we're asking for that, then we're going to buy a new bespoke made trophy, which comes at a crazy cost. It's just amazing for you guys to have even considered to do that in the first place. So I'm not quite sure how I can ever do justice to the quality of the partnership, but there are famous sayings, aren't they, that if so-and-so did partnerships, there we go. You are a shining light and an example about how we'd want to work with anyone that we bring into the sport. And that's behind everything we're doing around the John Good Group, WFA Cup and WFA Vase. It's because of that quality of stuff that you've brought to us over that period of time. It's so, so appreciated.
Yeah, I completely agree. And Alex, just to come to you here, I think from a WFA perspective, we collectively are the closest people to our whole host of varied sponsors and partners, and we have some incredible sponsors and partners. And I definitely do not want to downplay the impact or investment from them. But John Good Group is just special. It's just different, isn't it?
It certainly is. And I'm going to mention another name that's not here today, but Phil. Phil Postel at John Good Group, who's a creative genius, extremely talented designer, and the thought and care and effort he's put into the branding for the cup and the vase it's the most visual example we can give of how engaged John Good Group are as a partner. In it, there is more care and attention than you will you can, how am I going to put this? You can see all the care and attention that Phil's put into that, and love and understanding of what our sport is, and that's where I would have the shining example.
Yeah, we will certainly shine a light on Mr. Postel later in the episode. So that is kind of in a very brief nutshell the partnership thus far. And I think when you think of the growth of the competitions, the finals day, the role John Good Group have played in that, it probably brings us quite nicely onto what comes next. Because up until now, we've been looking back, what's been achieved, but there's some very exciting news around the corner of where we're heading. And with that in mind, I think this is the perfect place to kind of share that news. So Dean, I'll bring you in here to kind of to start us off on this exciting announcement.
Yeah, so I mean, for me, I don't want to steal the thunder of Adam on this one at all. So he gets the glory of bringing out whatever it is, a sentence or a statement that will mean an awful lot to our listeners, our clubs, and our players, and everyone involved in our community. But I never wanted this, and do not want this relationship to end. You know, this relationship, for all the reasons we've talked about already, set up in 2022, 2023, and then having those 2 years, then going into the third season, and then the spectacular that's going to happen. You kind of go one step ahead when you're involved in leadership positions, and you start to think about, okay, what happens after that? And the thought process about not having John Good Group right by our side again and us by their side going into future iterations of the John Good Group WFA Cup and WFA Vase, it just wouldn't have sat comfortably with me at all. So Adam and I, some time ago, had a conversation just to jump ahead a little bit and think about what's that aspiration and what's that ambition. And here's that absolute tee up for you, Adam, to then for you to give that sentence or that statement in terms of what we've decided to do. Take it away, my friend.
Well, thank you for that. I'm delighted to announce to the community that we have decided to extend for another 3 seasons our partnership with you guys and our sponsorship of the Cup and of the Vase. We've been on a great journey, as I described only a few minutes back, but now's the time to double down. And it just could not be the point that we left this journey. Started off on a 1 year, now we did a 2 years, now we're doing a 3 years. We've come an awful long way and we've made significant strides. Now we've got to make sure, as part number 1, to make sure this sticks. And the feel and the excitement that we've been describing, it becomes habitual. Yeah, we've made so much progress, we can't take that step backwards. And we were like, we did not want that in any way, shape, or form to happen. And we're like, no, we need to double down now and let's make sure this continues in the same vein that we've been creating over the last couple of years. So that's the first point, and that's the one of the fundamental bits now moving forwards is we've done the growth, now let's make it sustainable. Let's really make sure it's that day in the calendar that everybody gets excited about. Then there's the ambition side of it. So this is John Good, this is you guys. We're never content with where we are. And you start to think about what the art of the possible is again. And you want to reset some of the ambition. So if ambition number 1 about sustainability, there has to be more beyond that, more teams, more spectators, more experience, more technology, more innovation. I would even extend this to more media coverage. I think we can carry on using this platform and this competition to drive further engagement with all of those different stakeholders. And whilst we've not sat down and fully mapped this out to do what does the 3 seasons down the line look back and work back to do the staging of that, that's what we'll be doing. And it all starts with the signing of the agreement. And Rich and I are super excited about it. Dean, we've been excited about it and holding our tongues for a little while on this. But coming into this weekend, being able to now announce to the community, to the players, to the clubs, we're in this, we're in it for the foreseeable, and we're going to make sure this sticks, is really important for us. And we want to be there on the next leg of the journey.
I think it's time for another thank you on that note. So thank you, Adam, and thank you, Rich, and thank you, John Good Group, because that just means the world. We're full of gratitude. I'd be mortified if you said that we don't show that on a consistent basis, but that does mean the world, literally, to know we've got that kind of consistency and that sustainability, as you talked about, Adam, attached to this is such a spectacle of Powerchair football. So thank you so much for agreeing to do that. Don't think it was a difficult conversation, but it's never taken for granted from me at all. And it's massive thanks on behalf of the whole community.
Rich, how do you see kind of this next 3 years phase building on what we've already achieved?
I mean, you probably got used to us now, but I don't think I don't think we can rest on our laurels. And why can't we make it one of the biggest sporting events in the country when it comes to disabilities? I think genuinely, as Adam alluded to just then, why can't we have television exposure? Why can't we see those types of media channels really picking up on the sport? I think there's an element of actual delivery on the day and making that even more better than it is over the next 2 to 3 years when that comes to audience experience when they attend the Derby Arena. I think we've had plans where we looked at it for this year. We've said we actually will hold that until the next year because that allows us to build on those building blocks that we already have over the past 2-3 years. So there's so many avenues we can go down. I think from a visionary perspective, the fact that we could potentially even look at doubling the audience numbers over the next 3 years, I don't think that's unachievable. And I think the passion and the partnership and just the ability to want to do an amazing thing for such a great community, there's nothing to stop us.
No, I completely agree with that. Alex, how important is kind of that consistency and continuity in building something like this over time? We've seen kind of the innovations we've made in the last 2-3 years, and that's come from the stability in the sustained partnership.
Yeah, I think the proof of that is the number of times I get asked questions about Derby this year, or when are we having this, or so things that we innovate in at Derby. So for instance, the headphones. When are we having these at National League is a question. So that's been asked a few times. When are we moving to Derby is another question that I get asked. So the highlights for people and the community that take place at the finals day, and the bits that we are able to innovate, they do ripple across the rest of the sport and put a bit of pressure on us because they raise expectations. But we're very comfortable with that as a process. That's what we want. We want to be improving, delivering, growing, and we want the community to know that we're doing that. And so that will come with a natural element of them asking for these improvements, for these better experiences, for the emotional feeling you get from victory and glory, and that's what these guys are playing football for, right? That all the players are there to win. There's a chance to lift a trophy, to be a champion, and that driving force, along with this lovely culture and brilliant culture of development and innovation and consistency over time, incremental improvements that are sustainable. That's what we do. That's what we're here for, and that's the correct process to do it under. So the chucking money at something all in one go, you make mistakes, you get things wrong, but most importantly, you don't take people with you. And so doing it in the process that we do it in means that we can get the feedback from people, we can get the ownership, they can feel that they are part of the process because they do have a say in how we're doing things and what we're doing. And that's incredibly important to us as an organisation, how we operate.
I want to touch on one of those incremental improvements. I think that term probably doesn't do it justice, but one of the big shifts we've observed in 25-26 is this whole competition restructure. So I want to spend a little bit of time kind of delving into the detail for those that may not be overly familiar. So kind of the headline is a record-breaking year for the younger group WFA Cup, 28 teams entering the competition, which in itself tells you everything kind of about where we're going, the direction of the sport and the competition itself. Alongside that is the most important element, I think, of Derby this year and kind of recent years, because it's a huge shift that we've kind of restructured our competitions, bringing in the WFA Vase, a competition, to Dean's point, designed to give teams extended, meaningful football beyond the early rounds of the Cup to create another route to silverware. In terms of how it looks, National League teams are required to enter the Cup. Championship teams that exit before round 3 automatically are put in the WFA Vase. And then regional league teams have the option to enter the cup, the Vase, or both when they sign up. And that's the shift, because previously, once you were out of the cup, that was it. There was no second route, but there is now. And because Premiership teams don't come into the cup until round 3, that opportunity is really there for Championship and regional league teams to take with both hands. And the Vase creates a genuine opportunity, a genuine chance for teams to compete for silverware under the WFA banner. And in years gone by, as it is in the running game, the cup competitions are typically won by the powerhouses within the respective formats. But we've kind of completely changed that and introduced something that is so purposeful and people are so excited about. So I'll come to you first, Dean, here. Just on the Vase, how important is it that we have created something that provides a bit of tangible success, silverware, for teams and players that wouldn't have had that opportunity before?
Well, it's incredibly important, isn't it? I think I'm going to go back to the word opportunity. So it's one of our core foundations alongside our medium-term strategy, and that's where it sits for me, right? So our job as an association, as a governing body, is to create opportunity for the players. And I think you've just alluded to this really well, actually. So rather than a competition where you are used to seeing a number of the same people that progress through to latter stages, is there a way of creating opportunity? So when people go into a tournament, they know that it's not the end if they get knocked out at the start. And actually, it was quite an ambitious move to do that. But it was always going to create a trophy for people that perhaps don't have that natural chance to go after silverware. So they're going into a competition to gain experience, to say they're part of something. But actually, this takes it to another level, doesn't it? Because if we look at the 4 semi-finalists, they're people that, I don't want to do anyone injustice here, but they may have got through to later rounds of the competition as the WFA Cup format. But ultimately, they probably approached the whole competition this year, given those changes, with, if we're going to get knocked out in the early rounds here, we've still got other opportunity that comes our way. So that I absolutely love that, because I think that then makes it a competition for everybody to think about entering. And the numbers speak for themselves, right? When you talk about a record-breaking number of entries into it, the fact that that's extended beyond just the Premiership and the Championship teams, it's gone into regional league teams. So, for want of a better expression, non-league format teams as well. I think that's brilliant. That almost gives it a feel to be something like aligned to other COP competitions. They're in different versions of the game, where everyone goes in and wants to compete in that tournament. I think that's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So to be honest, the idea of creating that as a potential tournament has always been there for some time. But actually, we're back to John Good Group, in this case, as the partner, and giving us the opportunity, the bandwidth, the monetary side of it, to look at those things and start to bring that to fruition. So absolutely massively important. I mean, you don't have to look far, do you, to hear the noise that's been created from the moment we started this, when we first kicked off the tournament. It's just had a different level of appetite and desire attached to it.
I think that qualifying day we held back in February was the real eye-opener, certainly for Alex and myself, seeing the appetite, seeing the hunger and the drive for teams to progress through to Derby, because many of them, I don't think any of them have been present at that kind of showcase day before, because it was so severely limited to just the top performing cup teams. Adam, to you, how do you view the introduction of the Vase kind of from a partner's perspective? Because it's so inclusive now, or certainly so much more inclusive than it was in years gone by.
You took the word right out of my mouth there. Inclusivity is right at the top of mind when we start to think about the Vase. Derby is a special day anyway. So trying to share it with as many teams as possible and make it feel like that festival of Powerchair football just resonates really, really strongly. And to be able to open up a second competition, which allows a pool of clubs that would never normally not get to Derby. When we heard it, it was like, yeah, great idea, love this. How can we get behind it? And you look at the clubs that have made it. Teesside I think they finished third in the league, so they've been interested in the league structure. But some of those other clubs, their league seasons finished a while ago in terms of what they were playing for. But this has meant they've got their seasons extended. There's a focus on a prize. So we've been able to even extend the season for clubs in a way that I don't think 2 seasons ago we even imagined it. Hull, our local team, I think they finished bottom half of the table. Typically, they'd have been thinking, what are we playing for towards the end of the season? They're very, very focused on Derby Day, and they're arguably 2 wins away from silverware. Something that, historically speaking, they would have been nowhere near. So, yeah, the Vase just resonates so strongly. I'm super excited for the teams. I'm both excited, and it will be very interesting to see how the players react. Some of these guys, even in this, actually, when you look at the cup competition, some of these players have not played in front of big crowds. That noise is going to be really interesting about how the players react. I'm sure we're going to see some stars rise in that environment. But yeah, so all of that just in itself, you put it all in the pot. I think it's going to be super exciting, and the cup competition and the players that are on show will be brilliant to watch. But I am super excited about watching the Vase and seeing how those teams do in that sort of cauldron of football. It's going to be really, really great to watch.
I echo all of that. I just want to provide a little bit of context for those that may not be kind of aware of the shift in format. You may be wondering what this now means for the FA Disability Cup Powerchair final. That's now effectively shifted to a Community Shield style fixture, with the Premiership League winners that we now know to be Leeds will face the Cup winners from next Saturday. And this kind of shift in this format allows us to crown our own champions, and we are eternally grateful for the role of the Football Association in terms of that Powerchair final at St George's Park, televised on TNT Sports. I think we will all unanimously agree that shines a spotlight on our sport like no other because of that mainstream element. And it goes back to what you said earlier, Adam, about hoping in the next 1, 2, 3 years, maybe beyond, that we can introduce elements like that into Derby Day and stuff that the WFA host. But to you, Rich, how excited are you to see the finals themselves play out at Derby Arena and have that added level of involvement in the event, because it will have kind of your fingerprints on it?
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that we've kind of taken that final from where it was held at St George's Park to then actually exclusively be held at Derby Arena on the day. That for me in itself is an amazing thing, and that allows everybody to enjoy those 2 finals now, because ultimately we've changed the formation and we're introducing the Vase, and as you said, to put our fingerprint on it. Obviously, I'm going to come out with the fact that it's everyone together in terms of stakeholders from JGG and the WFA team, but to sit there and watch 10 games, but ultimately all the inevitability of 2 winners of the Vase and the Cup itself, it's something that we can all sit back and go, we made the right decision to make this happen for all the reasons we're talking around inclusivity, bigger audiences, bigger environments for the players to play in. That it can only be a massive positive, or positives flying out from the structure that we've created on that Derby Day. And yeah, it's one way you want to really feel. I guess I'm challenging the crowd now and parents and siblings and whatnot of all the players, but to come and really make that platform a special platform for the players, because as Adam said, some of these players won't get the opportunity to play in big crowds. Well, I think not only next Saturday, but in the next 2-3 years, we're going to start to form a crowd which actually can be really, really incredible for these players to perform in front of. And I'll steal Adam's sentence, but there will be rising stars within those games, and that is an opportunity for them to have a little bit of a spotlight on them. So that, for me, I can get excited about the players that can get that opportunity.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Just do want to come to you, Alex, quickly, because the Vase, the match format differs slightly from what a typical Powerchair football match looks like, or certainly the Cup. Can you just talk us through that quickly?
Certainly can. So a Vase game is 30 minutes with no half time. However, the first break of play after 15-minute mark, there is a 2-minute water break where players can have a quick drink and receive some instructions from their coaches, even if it's not a full half-time. And play then resumes wherever the play had stopped, whether that's a kick-in, goal kick, corner, etc. One of the peculiarities of Powerchair football is the 40 minutes, 20-minute halves for a standard game, and the size of the pitch and therefore the number of the players are all restrictions placed on us by logistics. So you can book a sports hall for an hour. So that gives you 20 minutes either side to do the bits and pieces that you need admin-wise and half-times, etc. So you end up with a game of Powerchair football that's 2 lots of 20 minutes. And you can book a sports hall that's the size of a basketball pitch. So that gives us our pitch dimensions. And therefore that tells us how many players and chairs we can get onto a pitch at any one time that's safe and makes the game usable. So that's kind of where the origins of Powerchair football, timing and number of players, has come from. For the Vase, we had other considerations. We wanted to make sure that the teams that are playing in the Vase, and bear in mind it could be the first big competition that they've played in away from their local regional leagues. So if they're travelling a reasonable distance, if they've got player requirements in terms of what they need to be able to travel a bit further and stay overnight, etc., we wanted to make it meaningful. And so one of the ways that we can do that is to try and compress and remove some of what we would call non-playing time within a day. And so that's why we've picked up the 30-minute format with no half-time. If you talk to players that have played this, they will tell you that half an hour straight through feels like a 40-minute game in terms of energy, mental effort, how tired they are afterwards. So the experience isn't diminished for them, but it means we can offer more opportunities within a single day in a single format. So the Nottingham qualification day held at David Ross Sports Centre at Nottingham University. That was the first time in my knowledge that the WFA have run a competition with 3 pitches concurrent at any one time. So again, huge amounts of football played in a single day with extra matches because of the slightly altered format, and because we were running 3 pitches at the same time as well. That meant there was huge amounts of football, and it was a really good experience for all the teams that were there. We had great feedback from them in terms of the enjoyment they got from playing, the challenge that it created for them, and the development they got as teams and as players from that as well. So we're really pleased with the format, that it's worked as well as it has done. It's always a little bit of an experiment, a bit of a risk. We felt we knew our players, the sport, and what they were after well enough that we made good choices on that, and feels like we have. And that Derby's finals day, the format continues. So that's the format of Vase football: 30-minute games, 2-minute water break at the first stoppage of play after 15 minutes, and no turnarounds. So there we go. That's the format for the Vase.
Yeah, I think coming away from that qualifying day in February, we were both left so encouraged with what this could be. Obviously, we are entering new territory with the innovation and the introduction of the Vase for 25-26. We can already, I'm sure, collectively agree that come 26-27, with a year's experience and know-how under our belts, so excited to see where that can go, which will no doubt look slightly different and be more exciting as that rolls around.
Sorry, Ryan, to interrupt. I was just going to say that just for Adam and Rich's benefit, I think one other thing that came out of the Vase qualifying day was actually there was an element of motivation. There were some non-league regional teams that were there clearly during that day. And the motivation that came from those clubs around, actually, we've got closer to see what it's like to play here at a more elite level. So the organisation that's put in front of them, what we can expect. And I think you'd agree, Rye and Alex, that that's something that we didn't necessarily expect, which has created a level of ambition from some of those regional non-league teams at this moment in time in terms of having an appetite. And it's important, Adam and Rich, I think you know that, because you won't necessarily have picked that up at this stage. But what that does, it means that what we're putting on is enabling a level of ambition towards the National League stuff as well, which can only be good for our sport. And that's because we've allowed people to get closer towards some of the things they could potentially go and do if they took themselves into that more elite stage. And I love that because it's something we didn't naturally expect, but it's happened. And we've certainly had conversations with a few clubs that have become more interested about how do I start to get us even more ready to perhaps make an application to go into the National League. It's great.
If that leaves a legacy like that, everything's
it's brilliant.
well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't surprise me that was an element of the day, because we saw inexperienced regional league teams bettering established national league teams. And if that doesn't give you the hunger, the drive to go and be curious and inquire about potential national league placement or playoffs, I don't know what will. And that was so encouraging. Obviously, all of our 4 Vase teams are established National League Championship sides, but it was very nearly the case that regional league sides could have progressed through. The likes of Seven Oaks Acorns, to mention just one team, a team where none of their players had experienced cup football, Vase football prior to this season, and now they've already got the taste of potential National League football. So it's incredible. I was going to go on to say that anyone that's attended the events, watched the streams, seen our social media, will know that it's not just the format or the structure that's changed in 25-26. It's how the competitions are presented. And I certainly feel that the Cup and the Vase now have their own identity. They look different, they feel different. And that, I think, makes a huge difference, especially for the players, because it gives them something they can connect with. And whether it's the purpose-built logos, the bespoke trophies, which we'll come on to in just a second, the branding, the colour schemes, everything now feels aligned. And the detail that's gone into it, it's only right that we once again mention the work of Phil Postel. So I'm going to throw to Adam and Rich collectively here, just to shine a spotlight on Phil. How important has his role been in shaping what we're seeing?
Adam, do you want to go? Do you want me to go?
Yeah, I can wax lyrical about Phil if we want. Phil is he's a bit of a magician when it comes to this stuff, and where that magic truly lies is he takes sometimes relatively sketchy sets of details, and he really applies a lot of thought to what somebody's saying. He hears the key things. He reflects on what he understands about the topic as well. And then he goes away and he creates. And you can see the passion and the creativity flowing to the things that he puts his mind to. And so you just, and having worked with him for a few years now, Rich longer than I have, you just know you're in incredibly safe hands on anything that is creative when Phil is around. And he will do it justice, he will do it on time, and he will do it to a level which is pretty special. Now, if I carry on talking about Phil, someone's going to come in and poach Phil from the organisation. So I suggest we stop at this point, of risk of losing Phil. But he is a treasure. He is incredibly valued within the group. On this podcast, I've heard some of your statements about him, but I know from other conversations, I know how highly you guys think about him. And he has been able to represent the ambition in an image, physical sense, in a way that I think few could. And he has really done the ambition proud on that front.
I think Alex and I are going to start a GoFundMe page to try and poach him from the Jonga groups over to the WFA.
I announced our partnership already, because that could quickly end, right? If
you won't mind the sponsorship money being directly given to Phil, will you? Just just on that, of course, the branding is inspired by the trophy or trophies themselves. Rich, to you, Can you talk us through the process of this beautiful now trophy that can be presented to the WFA Cup winner, and kind of the relationship with EFX Awards, who were the kind of the main creators of the purpose-built showpiece?
Yeah, I mean, Adam's kind of explained how Phil works, but you can sit in a room with Phil, and he can then depict what you want and create something 100 times better than you visualized. So the processes that Phil went through was ultimately to understand the emotions behind the sport, who was involved in it, what does it actually entail, what are the power chairs built of, how are they built, what does it look like, talking to the right stakeholders from WFA and from Adam and I and the team at JGG. And he literally starts to sketch, and that's what he did with a piece of paper and a pencil. He started to understand the connection between the actual look and feel of the trophy to actually what the sport means emotionally, and what impact it has throughout a game, through the tire marks, through the intertwined design within the trophy, to even the bumper on the front of the Powerchair to be embedded into that twirl. So the actual material with the FX and designing a trophy, which is really important because actually the players are the most important part here, is a trophy that is accessible and inclusive and can actually be lifted easily, because it isn't small. It's not a small trophy, but is actually quite lightweight due to the material that's being produced in. I just echo some of the thoughts and feelings towards Phil, but genuinely, and I allude to the fact that I love my brands, but I actually think now the WFA Cup and the Vase has a brand now that could be sustainable for the next 5 to 10 years, because that's how good it Phil has created, and that's an amazing thing. And we'll start to bring even more of those assets and collateral into those Derby Day events over the next 2 or 3 years, where you actually start to see we've established an event, but actually wrapped around that is a phenomenal brand, and that is down to Mr. Postle.
I'd just like to follow up a little bit there, and I'll challenge anybody that's coming down to Derby to watch the weekend sport. Go and find the trophy. We'll try and get it out, I'm sure, somewhere on the display. And some of the things Rich has talked about and some of the bits that Phil has managed to include in this trophy, go and seek them out. And I would call out 5 straight away off the top of my mind. So we referenced the spin. So the spinning of the chair is captured in the movement within the trophy. That's a really straightaway visual element of the trophy itself. And actually, it's really brilliant how we've seen that reflected in the vase as well. The bumper grill shape is there. You can spot it. You will see tire marks. Tire marks is an interesting one because tire marks is not actually supposed to represent the wheels. The tire marks is there to represent what is unique to the sport, and that is the squeak of the wheels when turning. And again, somebody that doesn't know the sport might not pick that up in a way, but that's what that actually represents, because it's impossible to represent the sound in any meaningful way. But that's what that is there for. We've then got the big and the small wheels, front and the back of the chairs. And then probably, and it was actually a late addition, and again, Phil takes the credit for this one, in the way that the two materials the trophy's made out of, it's a silver on the outside and it's a gold on the inside. And the gold represents the community, and it's that golden heart at the heart of everybody that gets involved and does all of those extra hours and miles, and families and supporters and people making this happen. That represents the community. Now, none of us would have got to those conclusions in a way Phil would have got there. But go, if you hear this before and you can see the trophy, go and inspect it, see those things that I'm talking about. That underlines the genius of the way that he interpreted what he heard and then what was ultimately produced.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm sure Alex and I will assure everyone that the trophy will be prominently displayed at the Derby Arena on Saturday, May the 9th. I'm going to throw to Alex here. He can add other stuff with regards to the Cup, but I want to ask you about the Vase trophy, because you've played a big role in creating that kind of as a secondary trophy off the the main WFA Cup competition. So obviously your comments on the cup trophy to begin with, but also the inspiration behind the vase, because no one's actually even seen that yet. They would have seen the small logo on our social graphics, but no one would have actually seen what it looks like in person.
So I can confirm that we will have both trophies on display at the front of the welcome area, the entrance as you come into the arena. They've got their own plinths, and they will be rotating as well, so you can see the full glory of all the trophies all the way around. The various design elements that have gone into.
Okay, we're getting to the level of Champions League football now, aren't we, Alan?
Well, we've got to put a little bit of gloss on, and we try and do these things where we can. So the Vase trophy is a bit different to the cup trophy. It looks a little bit more like a traditional cup. However, it's made out of different materials. So it has been 3D printed for the upper part of the trophy, and the base has been turned out of maple. So it's a wood and 3D print filament trophy, but that gives it a very unique property in that it is extremely light. Extremely light. It's light in more ways than one, but I'll come on to that in a moment. So because it is extremely light, should be liftable by nearly any of our players. So some of our players with muscle wasting conditions who will struggle to lift a fair few things would probably be able to lift this trophy. The cup will definitely be able to be held by people, but some of them may struggle to lift. I'm hoping the vase is on the much lighter. I haven't weighed it. I think it's under 500 grams, but we'll see. It depends on whether we've got the other bit about it in there or not. Now, it's been printed with a filament that is translucent, and fitted within the trophy are two separate lights that are controllable. And so rather than coloured ribbons, the winning team will have the trophy lit up in the colour of their club. So we have got a light colour for every single team that's potentially going to win the Vase this year. So we've tested those, so those are all good. So we've created a different a trophy from the cup. However, the inspiration that we've taken from that thought process that went into designing that trophy, you should be able to see in this one. The base has echoes of the wheels, the large wheels, small wheels that we've got. The trophy itself looks like it's got a lot of movement to it as it twists and turns on the way up, echoing those things. We've got a fairly similar bit of writing around the base, where we've got the Wheelchair Football Association Cup. On the vase, we have the Wheelchair Football Association Vase inscribed upon that as well. And so the trophy itself is quite different to the cup, but at the same time, very much in the same family and unique to our sport.
Dean, it's one thing to host finals of our own. It's another thing to watch two teams lift these incredible bespoke trophies. Just how incredible is that?
It's amazing, and it always gets me excited when you know the importance of the role that you're playing alongside that. So although we will have lots of involvement from John Good Group around it, just to sit there and observe the celebrations and that euphoria at the end of it for both of those crowned champions and winners of those two trophies, absolutely fantastic. People won't be able to see this, but Alex is now demonstrating the potential illumination for each of the colours of the Vase semi-finalists. So you won't be able to see that, but it does look awesome, trust me.
Yeah, we can probably try to get some nice pictures out on social media in the week leading up to finals day so people know what to expect, but they will both be prominently displayed at the entrance, hopefully, of the Derby arena. Now, I think that kind of gives a nice overview of the kind of the branding, the look, the designs. I think we now need to turn our attention to the football itself, because we've spoken about everything around the day, but ultimately it all comes down to what happens on the court. The day itself gets underway with the quarter-final stage of the John Good Group WFA Cup. At 9:30, we've got Sevenoaks against Teesside on Court A, alongside GBG Knights taking on Aspire on Court B. Then at 10:40, Greenbank against West Bromwich Albion on Court A, with Newcastle United Foundation against Middlesbrough on Court B. Now, if you're basing predicted outcomes on National League form, which isn't unsensible given how recently the Premiership concluded, you'd feel fairly confident in predicting maybe 3 of the sides to progress. Maybe in Teesside, Aspire and Newcastle, they'll certainly go in as favourites in their respective games. But that third quarter final between Greenbank and West Brom, that's the one that really stands out. West Brom in particular have hit another level as of late. Their form towards the back end of the season has been incredibly strong, and that's a game I'd be encouraging people to tune into or make sure that they're present on Court A, because that is a proper cup tie, because Greenbank, for context, knocked out Premiership champions Leeds in round 3. Alex, you excited for that one?
Huge games, that one in particular. The reality is that it's gonna, it could be a very close game, and the winner for the cup could come from that game. Either of those teams are more than capable of winning the cup, and so to be meeting in the quarterfinals gives us a huge spectacle to be watching. And I suspect there's going to be a lot of players around the pitch for that one. So there'll be plenty of teams and plenty of spectators there. On the spectator side of stuff, just so we know, and just to show the size that we've grown to, we've got 5 times as much seating as 2 years ago. So we're really going to have a good atmosphere, and that game I think will set us off really well. I think that's going to be a noisy one.
Yeah, I completely agree. Let's go through the games, and I'm going to push you all for a potential prediction if you're brave enough. Quarterfinal 1 sees Sevenoaks against Teesside. Teesside were the 24-25 Premiership champions. They were dethroned by Leeds just 2 weeks ago, so I very much expect them to have the bit between their teeth to ensure that they end the season with silverware. Sevenoaks, on the other hand, struggled, relatively speaking, with regard to their National League form, but picked it up massively in game week 5 to ensure that they live to fight another day with a potential Premiership playoff happening in June. Dean, which way do you see that one going?
I'm going to absolutely say that my position prevents me from making any predictions at all on these games, and I'm definitely sticking to that on this one. But you guys go for it.
Adam, where do you see that one going?
It's Teesside for me on that one. I think the league form takes it.
Rich?
I am actually going to go for Teesside. I think it's going to be a 3-0 win.
Alex?
It's a difficult one for me to say, because I'm quite close to the Sevenoaks boys, and I hope they're not going to give me any stick for this. I think they've had a tough season, and they're going through a transitional stage at the moment. It's cup football, so you never know. But I think Teesside will be a little disappointed not to have made a bigger impact on the league, and I think they'll have a bit of determination and a level of intensity that I think will see them overcome Sevenoaks.
Yeah, I'm also very close with the Sevenoaks squad, but they will very much have the underdog mentality. And who knows, in one-off games, in knockout format, anything is possible. But I have also predicted a 3-0 victory for Teesside. I'm probably in a better position than others here to maybe shine a spotlight on potential players to watch. So for Sevenoaks, keep an eye out for James Mason. Typically wears the goalkeeper jersey. Was so important with this increase and improved form that we've seen in game weeks 4 and 5. He will play a significant role protecting the edge of the box, and he will also be key in linking defence and attack. But they've got an incredibly inexperienced side, certainly compared to Teesside. So I just hope that they go and enjoy the experience. For Teesside, you can pick any one of the squad members as a player to watch, but I'm going to ask people to highlight Ed Common. by the ridiculous world-class standards he set across the last 15 plus years. He didn't have the Premiership campaign he potentially would have wanted. So I feel, just like Teesside, he will use this as an opportunity to ensure he's very much in people's consideration when they're talking about next season's Premiership, or probably a little bit closer to home, the 2026 World Cup in Argentina. The next quarter-final is GBG Knights versus Aspire. GBG Knights recently relegated from the Premiership division. On the last game of the day. It was an incredible conclusion to an incredible season, and maybe they'll use this as an opportunity, just like Sevenoaks as underdogs, to go and impress people, show why they are such a good team. And when they get their attacking football going, they are a good team. But they're up, it is the David versus Goliath. Aspire, the most successful team in the Cups competition history. So just like Teesside, seeing that league title travel its way to Yorkshire will leave a fire burning within John Bolden and co. So I suspect Aspire will come through with relative ease. Adam, where are you going on that one?
Aspire unbeaten this season, and I see that remaining at the end of this game as well. Can't see past Aspire for that one.
Rich?
Yeah, I echo. It's an Aspire win, and it might be by a fairly large score.
Alex?
I'll say a line that I've said on this podcast a number of times. Never bet against John Bolden.
No, I echo that, and I would be opting for maybe a 4-0 win for Aspire. Players to watch, starting with GBG Knights. It would be easy for me to pick Oscar Smedley, who's probably the most influential player in their Premiership campaign, young, hungry talent, who's progressing really nicely on the England talent programme. But if they are to play the opponent, the focus will be on Jack Ewins, because just like James Mason for Sevenoaks, Jack Ewins will wear that goalkeeper jersey, is so important to their defensive structure. And if they are to have attacking success, he will be central to it. Amazing dribbler of the ball. And many players, many high caliber players, England internationals, have commended the effort and the work rate and the ability of Jack Ewins. So one to watch. Aspire, I'm going to highlight John Bolden. He is the face almost of Powerchair football in England, has been so for so many years. And just to echo Alex, you don't bet against Bolden. They're going to want to retain the cup, and they're going to want to right the wrong of the league. An interesting element of this cup competition, and it's to be confirmed definitively, but as the competition structure has been laid out by FITFA and ETFA, the world governing body, and the European governing body, 25-26 effectively serves as a ticketing year for next year's Champions League equivalent, the ETFA Champions Cup, which Aspire lifted back in 2024. The only way Aspire are going to have the opportunity to defend their crown is if they win the John Good Group WFA Cup, because that serves as the second available ticket for that continental competition. And I know John has that at the forefront of his mind. With Leeds already confirmed, we have to, whoever wins this competition will have effectively booked their ticket for the Champions League. That's to be confirmed definitively, as mentioned, but as the ticketing years have been laid out by those respective organisations, we know that this is a very important year. So John Bolden, definitely one to watch. Quarterfinal 3, Greenbank versus West Brom. I said it was the pick of the bunch. West Brom hitting incredible form, certainly in game week 5. They were voted the team of the weekend in our 5th and final weekend. And Greenbank are just one of the most difficult outfits and operators. No one likes to play against them. They make it their life's mission to negate the quality of their opposition. And that's what saw them come through in round 3 against Leeds, who ultimately lifted the Premiership. So I'm fascinated to see where our picks are going on this one. Adam?
Can I pick there's definitely going to be a yellow card in this game? I think this is going to be a tasty game from the get-go. I see this being, I think it's a draw and pens. If I have to choose, I'll go Greenbank.
You're picking the same ones as I am, Adam. Yeah, for me, it's Greenbank.
Alex.
For me, it's West Brom. I think they found a formula towards the end of the season and formations and player roles that, I think they've got enough. It might. It's not going to be by more than one goal, I wouldn't have thought. But I'm going West Brom. Yeah.
I echo Alex's comments. Having watched and commentated most of their games in game week 5, I was beyond encouraged by the level of performance, the cohesion, the chemistry, the tactics that they've evolutionized across the season. And I think it may be a fairly significant margin. I've actually put 3-1, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's by 2 or 3 goals. A fascinating fixture nonetheless, and I think you could ask 10 different people and they'd give you 10 different answers. But that is the beauty of the cup. And assuming our predicted outcomes from the other quarterfinals, we'll come on to the fourth one soon. The semi-final stage is going to be ridiculous. But just quickly on players to watch for Greenbank, could have picked Marcus, could have picked Torbjorn, 2 really key players, but for me, Jacob Buchplaat is the one to watch. The levels he's produced this season at just 14 or 15 years of age is absolutely incredible. He will want to show that he's one of the best in the country and to force his name into the narrative when it comes to England selection, maybe not for Argentina, but certainly beyond, because he is that good. And for West Bromwich Albion, I'm going to highlight USA international Zach Dickey. Just when we're talking about international selection, he wants to be considered for the USA squad for Argentina in 2026. He has the odds stacked up against him due to his classification and some of the best players in the world hailing from the USA also being PF2s, but he's experienced a new environment, a new country, a new league, and he's benefiting from it. And I've said it on the podcast many times across the season, in terms of his technical levels, it's the best I've ever seen. So he'll want to show that when the spotlight is shining brightly. Quarterfinal 4, Newcastle United versus Middlesbrough. Again, probably closer than the quarterfinals 1 and 2, but you'd probably opt for Newcastle based on the way that they concluded the season. They went through a huge change in at the conclusion of 24-25, seeing some of their key players depart for clubs or retiring. So it's essentially been a rebuild across 25-26, and we're seeing the success of that rebuild come to fruition now. Middlesbrough, alternatively, a very defensive outfit, don't score a great deal of goals, but are incredibly tough to break down. So if they can remain resolute at the back and just take their chances in attack, I would certainly give them more chances of progressing than the likes of Sevenoaks and GBG Knights. Adam, which way do you see it going?
Tyne Tees Derby, I don't think you can call it as a result of that league form go straight out the window, and I'm going to go with Borough Middlesbrough for the win on this one, tight 1-0.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Rich?
It's going to penalties this, and it will be Middlesbrough that comes out with the victory.
Wow, 2 for 2 for Middlesbrough. Alex?
Cup magic. We're creating the days, aren't we? We're making that that level of event, that level of emotion that's going to cause the cup upsets and the magic that happens across football in other formats. Yeah, all right, I'll put it down. I'll go Borough in the 40 minutes.
I'm going to contradict all of you and say that there is unfortunately no way that Newcastle don't progress out of this fixture. I've actually had them as the underdogs of the competition. They were so good in game week 5, and the thing of note that I think will really push it in their favour, not just in quarter-final 4 but potential semi-finals, is one Ollie Crawshaw, because currently, as we release this episode today, he is competing with the England senior squad, got his senior call up for the first time to compete at the Home Nations. and he is in inspired form at the moment. So not only is he my player to watch, he is going to be the reason that Newcastle progress far in this competition, potentially even beyond the semi-finals. I said if the draw is favourable to them, they could easily go through to the final showdown. So unfortunately, gents, I have to disagree. Newcastle for me. Highlighting players for Middlesbrough, I think they will have a very defensive approach. They will treat it like a cup game. They will treat themselves as the underdogs. So they'll be looking to break on the counter. The person that will be key to both their defensive and attacking actions is Umar Hanif, who is a brilliant player who links defence and attack. So that is the 4 quarterfinals. There is no let-off, because once they're done, our attention turns to the semi-final draw, which will be conducted at 11:50. But it's the unknown, and that's what makes it so fascinating. The thing I'm excited to talk about now is the Vase, because the semi-finals get underway around 12:15 with GBG Saracens taking on Teesside Steel on Court A. Hull and East Yorkshire facing Norwich City on Court B. And I've said it on the podcast before, you could genuinely make a case for any one of those 4 teams lifting it at day's end, because on their day, in a knockout format like this, they've all genuinely got enough to go on and lift the trophy at the end. GBG Saracens against Teesside, really interesting contrast. Saracens are very much the underdog, certainly based on league position. But if we're basing it on league form, some are giving them a real go at progressing. And then if we're looking at Teesside Steel, again, frustration from the National League campaign. They didn't secure one of those automatic promotion spots they would have wanted. So maybe an opportunity to vent some of that frustration and to go on and lift the inaugural WFA Vase. Before we go to predictions, anything you want to add, Dean? It's a genuine statement when I say any one of them could lift it.
Yeah, I think it's wide open, isn't it? So I wouldn't predict, as you know me all too well. The statement I've just said is very, very true. My position prevents me from doing that, and I wouldn't do that. You guys feel free to do that on these, but it's very hard to call this. Really, really hard. You can make a case for any of those teams, like you said, Ryan, and that makes that genuinely very, very open. So I'm just excited to watch that football.
It's going to be fascinating. Adam, where do you see that one going? Semi-final 1 of the Vase.
You're asking a boy that lives near Hull and in East Yorkshire which way he's going to go with Hull versus East Yorkshire versus Norwich. I'm going to go with the home time club, I'm afraid. I think I've got to. I live in this city, and I'd like to see them do well if they turn up on the day.
And what about GBG Saracens versus Teesside?
I can't see Steel on that one. Yeah, I think that goes Teesside.
Yeah, it is the inexperience versus the experience. Rich, semi-final 1, GBG Saracens versus Teesside, Hull and East Yorkshire versus Norwich. Where do you see them going?
I think I go with the actual namesake Steel. I can't see them not losing. They'll come away with the victory. And again, sentiment to the fact that I'm from Hull. And actually, there's a really important fixture tomorrow in the Championship of Hull versus Norwich City. There will be an omen. Hull City will win tomorrow, which will mean I can see Hull and East Yorkshire coming through with a win next Saturday.
Alex?
I'm going to go GBG Saracens. I think they've got more attacking power currently on form, and I think that's the important bit in the cup. So I'm going to say GBG Saracens, and then the other final place will come from the semi-final. I think whoever wins semi-final between Hull and Norwich, I think are going to win the Vase, and I think it's going to be Hull. I think it's Hull. The Hull Saracens final and Hull as Vase lifters are my predictions.
Yeah, fascinating. If we go into semi-final 1, Saracens versus Teesside Steel, I would probably share Teesside Steel as being the favourites from that one, caveated with the element that they need to have their full squad, something they didn't have on qualifying day. So assuming they've got their full squad of 5, they will pull on that experience. But my heart says GBG, my head says Teesside Steel, assuming they have a full squad. Players to watch: Tommy Mickelson for GBG Saracens, absolute inspired young player, just burst his way onto the scene in 25-26. Already kind of enrolled in the regional emergent talent program as to that kind of level of impact. And just like many players I've mentioned already, key in connecting defence and attack. But a brilliant player, scored a goal of the season contender against Hull in the league on the last day of the season. So he'll be looking to pull on that kind of inspired finishing against Teesside Steel. Teesside Steel, I would go with Jamil Khan as a player to watch, will probably be central to their success. One of the best ball strikers in the Championship division, in the country, I'd probably go as far as to say. But Teesside Steel's currently low on confidence. So is that something that the GBG Saracens will be looking to capitalise on? And then Hull, it's a really interesting one. They struggled, just to add the context, they struggled in the early few weekends of the season, didn't pick up a point until 2026. They brought in some inspired additions in Tyler McClelland and Anne-Marie Robertson. Suddenly, based on their form in 2026, now people are saying they're potential favourites for this competition, to just echo what Alex said. And I can't really disagree with that. If Tyler hits the same levels we've seen in the league, he will be the player that comes away from Derby on everyone's lips, because he's that good. He's another player that will be competing in the home nations this weekend with Scotland. So fascinating to see him in action. And then for Norwich, I think Norwich have all of the ability to progress. They do, but I've challenged them on multiple occasions this season to be braver, because sometimes they leave a little bit too much to the imagination, and they have the qualities to really punish their opponents. It's just that risk versus reward element, which I don't think the Cup, or the Vase in this case, gives you that opportunity. Because it's knockout, they will probably pull on what we have come to expect, being a defensive, stubborn outfit, and look to get some breakaway goals. But I will go with Hull to progress, and Teesside Steel, caveated that they have a full squad, and that as a final is incredible. So, gents, I think that just about wraps things up. We've spoken about the growth of the competition, the structure, the partnership, the identity. But as mentioned, it comes down to what we see on the court across those 10 matches. So whether you're there in person or tuning in across the streams, it's shaping up to be an unforgettable day of Powerchair football, arguably the biggest ever delivered under the WFA banner. So as a reminder, tickets are still available. If you can be there in person, be there in person. Tickets are free but must be reserved. Doors open at 9 a.m. As always, a big thank you to MK Battery for powering the podcast and supporting our live streaming efforts. We'll be back after finals day to break it all down, reflect on the winners, and look at the key moments from what promises to be a huge day for the sport. Thank you, Dean and Alex.
Thank you, Ryan. We are getting to echo the sentiments and some of the social posts that we've seen from our clubs and players. We are going to Derby.
Thank you, Adam and Rich.
Pleasure, guys. Bring the noise. Let's bring the noise. Whoop, whoop.